Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Living Islam Today show. We have a really great show in store for you this evening. Very excited about tonight's show, and it is definitely a treat. I'm so very excited. A little bit behind schedule, but that's all right. We pray and we ask Almighty God Allah to accept the words that come out of our mouths today. Um, Tonight we have a very special guest with us. We are joined with our brother Qasim Rashad. I've known this brother for way over 25 years. He has definitely been a beacon, not just in the Islamic community, but the community at large. And when I speak at large, I'm speaking all across the city. When I think about our brother Qasim and the work that he has done in the community, the Islamic community, as well as taking young youth to tour the historical black colleges throughout the year. And I could testify one of my children, maybe two, may have went on those tour buses with him, brother Zach, and many other brothers. Our brother today is coming up on a very important stage in his life that he is inshallah looking to become the next state representative in his area. And without further ado, I want to go to our brother Qasim Rashad.
Assalamu alaikum, Jihad. Thank you for those kind words. It's been a life journey, that has included you and much of, South Philadelphia and Mount Airy and the Northwest section, where I'm running for the 200th Legislative District um, as the state representative. And you're right, we have done a lot of work in this community. HBCU tours for youth is just one of the things I've done I do for the kids. Recently, we did the Read Across America program at West Oak Lane Charter School, where I read to um, educationally challenged children. It was quite, a rewarding thing. They selected me for that group because I care. I also coach 4 to 6 year old youth at City Athletics at Mallory Playground in the Northwest, and I get a great deal of reward from that. Kind of should have, it makes me think I should have been a kindergarten teacher because I love that age group, 4 to 6, you know. And so, I continue to do the work in the community, lived in the community practically all my life. I only went away for a little while to go to Dillard University in New Orleans for about 5 years. Although I did get my degree in four, I was there. I stayed an extra year just to kind of hang out a little bit. But when I came back, I got my feet wet with community service.
So born and raised in I always get it mixed up. Mount Airy, East Mount Airy, West Oak Lane, all that area. What exactly of the part of the city are you originally from?
Originally from the Germantown section uh, of the Northwest. Once I came back from school, married, and moved my family to Mount Airy. So it's all one big community up here in the Northwest. Part of the district that I'm running for includes some of West Oak Lane. Most of it includes Mount Airy and Chestnut Hill. And so I graduated from Martin Luther King with honors, um, and have been here. I think the dividing line for our district, the 200 district and the 201st district, is Washington Lane. If anybody, I think most people in Philadelphia know Washington Lane. Martin Luther King is right over
Right
the
there. Yes, yes, yes,
right
yes,
there. So
yes.
many of the constituents who go to Martin Luther King, who go to Northwest Parkway and West Oak Lane Charter Schools and AB Day, those are the four schools that are in that area, um, are probably Mount Airy residents.
Now you're running for state rep, and I know Qasim Rashad. I've been worked with you throughout the years, particularly here in South Philadelphia, and the interesting thing about this interview is that you're used to being on the opposite side during the interview. And tonight, I have the opportunity to be interviewing you. We have shared the airways together for, oh my God, so many years. I think we go back to the days of 1340 WHAT,
That's right.
originally right off of City Line Avenue, right across the street from St. Joe's. Then we moved to an area in Manayunk, and we moved again with 900 AM Word Radio, and we were able to be down on Delaware Avenue.
Mhm.
And for a minute there, you and I flirted with the idea, and we did a radio show on a Jewish-based Ukrainian show out in Bala Cynwyd.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. So, I mean, you're going back to the days of WHAT and Living Islam when our brother Kenny Gamble, was one of the major hosts of the radio show, and Cody Anderson in
Hmm.
that group, God bless his soul. So, I mean, we go back quite a ways, and we've been
Yes,
doing this
yes,
work.
yes, yes, yes.
Often I have been the interviewer, and I've had an opportunity to kind of like press the metal on some of some of the people that have been in political positions like I am now or running for office. So it is a bit different to be on the other side of the microphone.
Yes, yes. But without a doubt, we know that you can handle it. When I think about a state representative, when I think about that man or woman that runs for that office, it's a 2-year office, correct? That
Yes, the
individual.
cycle is the cycle is 2 terms for state representative. So it's almost like the day after the election, if you win, you're
Mm,
running again. you
hmm.
know. But I think for incumbents, that goes a long way. Once you've had an established track record in your district and people know you, you do kind of get a little leg up on competitors. You know, in this district, the 200th district, the incumbent is Chris Rabb, who is vacating the seat, and he is now running for the third congressional district seat and competing against Ayla Sanford and state senator, our brother Sharif Street, in a three-legged or three-way race. I'm
Hmm.
also running in a three-way race. There's a young man by the name of Chris Johnson who's running against for the seat, and a young lady by the name of Deshawnda Williams who is also running for the seat. We're campaigning very hard. We're out in the community, getting our name out front, letting people know that, I'm not new to the district. I just didn't move here and then try to figure out how the district operates and how it runs. I've been in this district with my family. I've raised 6 kids in the district, and they also went to school in Chestnut Hill. They were raised in Mount Airy, but went to John Story Jenks. My grandchildren as well, raised in Mount Airy, went to John Story Jenks, nieces, nephews,
Mm.
been a part of the PTA. So I've been working in this community. I'm also, I don't mean to toot my horn so much, but I'm also an elected official. I'm the only candidate in the race that has been elected. I'm elected committeeman for the 22nd Ward in which I live, 26th Division, and also the chairman of the 4th Senatorial District, which is State Senator Art Haywood's district, and I'm the chair of that caucus. So I've been elected a couple times, a few times.
I didn't know that about you. I didn't know.
Mhm.
It's like is is that like a ward leader? You got your cat joining us tonight. That's a big
She
cat, man.
jumped, she jumped right up there. Hold on. Uh, what was your question again?
I was asking you about the ward leaders up in that area.
Right.
Are you
Oh,
um,
go ahead.
are you amongst the ward leaders too?
No. In the 22nd Ward, we have Councilwoman Cindy Bass.
Okay. Okay.
Um, in the 50th, there is Mayor Sherelle Parker. She's the ward leader. Um, in the 10th is Wayman Cargill. In the ninth, I can't remember Jeffries. So every ward, and so let me just say, of the wards that comprise the 200 legislative district, there are five. Uh,
Hmm.
there is the 22nd, there is the 50th, there is the 21st, there is the 10th, and there is the ninth ward. And so there are five ward leaders uh, in this area. And in my particular ward, Councilwoman Cindy Bass is the ward leader, and the adjacent ward is Mayor Sherelle Parker. And those are the two complete wards and the biggest wards of the 200th legislative district.
Mm. Now, polit- politics being what they are today, and we have a president who basically does just about whatever he wants and tears up the White House, and because he wants to add on a ballroom and starting wars and stuff of that nature. You being a man of faith and family and dedication to the community, why do you want to throw your hat into what many would say is uh, not an unfair job to hold, being a politician? Why do you want to be a politician today?
Well, some of the things that I've mentioned about my community activism, you know, yes, I'm a community activist, but I'm also a faith leader. Um, and a lot of folks know that I'm also the Amir of the United Muslim Masjid and United Muslim Islamic Center. And so all the work that I've done both in my faith community and in my neighborhood community and in the South Philadelphia community, I would like to actualize. And I think that what better way than to have the ability to extend my work and what I've done for the community than to go to Harrisburg and represent my community, uh, doing those same things, the things that I'm very passionate about: education, nutrition, um, and small businesses.
Mm. Speaking of small businesses, I remember many years ago, and I believe this is where we first met each other down in South Philadelphia. I believe it was then called the Universal
Business,
Business Center.
right?
You had an office around there, and you had your company that I'm sure you still have up and running today, Final Mile Technology.
Correct. And so, that's a very fond memory, being in a Universal Business Center, with which was developed by Universal Companies and was adjacent to the masjid. So we had faith, community, and business.
Mm,
And as a small business, one of the first things I did or was able to do was go to the West Philadelphia Business Enterprise Center. And what the West Philadelphia Business Enterprise Center did for me was show me how to develop a business plan, a sustainable business plan that charted the direction of my company 5, 10, 15 years, showed me how to apply for a loan, showed me how to do a pro forma, showed me how to present myself to a bank and to investors. And so in the Northwest, what you'll see, and you probably are familiar with this, with small businesses on what is known as the Wadsworth Business Corridor. There's the Stinton Business Corridor. There's the Mount Airy Business Corridor, and even the Chestnut Hill Business Corridor, where there are shopping districts and businesses along that way. And what we see, particularly in the Black-owned businesses, we also see that these businesses aren't very sustainable. They open up, and 2 years later, they're out of business, and there's a new business there. And then we hear all of these cliches that our young people say, um, I want to be an entrepreneur and generate or create generational wealth. Well, you can open up a lemonade stand, but you're not going to create generational wealth selling lemonade. But you can grow your business into uh, into a lemonade company. But you have to
yes.
do that with the proper training.
Hmm.
Um, and so, one of my plans is to open up a business enterprise center in the Northwest so that young entrepreneurs, young people, um, middle class working people, even retirees can learn how to establish a sustainable business. And I would like to legislate that if those businesses follow the business plans and join the business enterprise center and does everything that business enterprise that they get a tax abatement or reduce taxes for the first 5 years of that business incubacy. I mean, if we can give wealthy people tax abatements throughout the city for buying new homes for 10 years, we can definitely give a tax abatement to startup businesses, particularly from working class folk, to get their businesses going so that we can create not only revenue, but jobs.
Mm, mm. You mentioned health, and I watched you throughout the years go from, a person that I don't want to say wasn't healthy, but you did not have your health where you quite wanted it to be, and now to where you are now. You're very thin now, and I know you're very passionate when it comes to health, and you're always admonishing me when it comes to sugary drinks, and because I've shared with you about being type 2 pre-diabetic, and I've spoken to you about the different things that I wanted to do to reverse it. If elected into this office as state rep, what would you do to try to make the community more better as it relates to health and nutrition?
Well, um, let me go back to the beginning where you talked about my health journey a little bit. Yeah, I was about 260 pounds about 10 years ago. I don't know how thin I am now, but I
Well,
definitely
you ain't 260.
I was definitely as my doctor sat me down and told me, he said, "Man, you're a train running out of track. You got metabolic disorder, metabolic health issues." And I went from pre-diabetic to full-blown diabetic,
Mm,
A1C of 13, and a normal is 5. So you can imagine how out of order I was. Just a mess, and a lot of maladies and ailments, converging on me all at once. I mean, I was good at hiding it, but was not doing well. So, I turned to veganism, and temporarily veganism worked. If you're a strict vegan, you're not eating you're eating real plant-based diet, you know. But what took me under was soul food vegan. You get vegan fried chicken, vegan fish, vegan that, because they use a thing called seitan and tofu, and they can dress this stuff up to look like a chicken, to make it look like
yes.
whatever you want it to look like, and it's really very bad for you because it's ultra processed food. What do they call that? The impossible burger. That was all trash and garbage. You were better off eating the red meat and the chicken than eating that stuff. So I just got worse, probably the biggest vegan I knew. Anyway, I started to study. As I got sicker, I got more scared, and I started to study nutrition. I did a deep dive into it and learned about ketogenic dieting, learned about low carb dieting, and I managed to get my weight down to like 172 at one point, and I was spinning like a top. So, what I would like to do is create some legislation around nutrition, um, whereas we could create diabetic aisles in grocery stores and diabetic nutritional requirements for our institutions like public schools, um,
Yes.
senior citizen homes, hospitals, and penal institutions. There's no reason that the school district of Philadelphia can publish a breakfast menu and say, they're giving kids Cocoa Puffs, Frosted Flakes, and Tricks with zero sugar in it when we know that's not to be the case. But if you can get these things implemented, we can save and protect people. We can save many lives. If we just said, okay, every grocery store is required to create a diabetic shopping aisle so
Mm,
that people who don't know what I know, who don't have the nutritional education and information, can shop safely down that aisle and know that they are buying things that are not ultra processed food, not high in fructose and sugar, and things that won't harm them and exacerbate their diabetes. And we can do that, and we can save lives. It's going to take some working, across the aisle, some give and take. But if I get to Harrisburg, let me speak it into existence. When I get to Harrisburg, I'm going to be one of those individuals who reaches across the aisle, who's going to work with rural Pennsylvanians and rural legislators to get what we need in Philadelphia.
Mm, I like that. Uh, when I think about housing, particularly here in South Philly, where I've been a resident all my life, I've watched gentrification. I've watched it take place within our own faith base, our house of worship in South
Hmm.
Philadelphia. I've watched abandoned houses right around the corner from where we worship go from probably $20,000 to 500, 600, 7, even $1 million.
Yes.
The just watching the whole South Philly in particular, the dynamics changed. And I see it taking place in your area. I see it taking place in North Philly and in Southwest Philadelphia. What would you do when you get into Harrisburg to be able to help the mom and pops? Your mother's still alive, and alhamdulillah, we need to do an interview about your mother. I believe she's correct me if I'm wrong. How old is your mother?
94.
94. 94 years old, and she just embraced the religion of Islam, correct?
Yes, she just took her Shahada Christmas Day.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. When you get to Harrisburg, what are you going to try to do to help people like your mom, 94 years old, or my aunt here that's in South Philly, that's 70 years old, that's struggling to be able to pay her taxes, keep the front of her house looking up to par with the two houses that she's in between that now go for $500,000, and she bought her house 30 years ago and still paying on her mortgage. What can you do to help these individuals that are struggling to keep their homes?
Yeah, well, fortunately, my mother is not still paying on her home. She's paid it off. But
Alhamdulillah.
when you see the rise of real estate taxes, that still impacts working class people and retired folk. There's legislation on the books now in Harrisburg. It's a House Bill 818, I believe, that says um, it's like a savings bond that for homeowners or people anticipating home ownership, that they can put away $5,000 a year and it not be taxed
Okay.
up to $50,000. And then once they've reached the $50,000, they can cash out without the tax and buy a home. It's almost like the old Christmas savings plan. So I would increase that to $100,000, you know, and for families or married people, they can put away $10,000 and reach the $100,000. So that's the kind of legislation, but also to get families more connected with the RCOs, the registered community organizations, to watchdog where some of these multi-unit, multi-level apartments are just popping up. You're right. In South Philly, I think they've run out of space. In Mount Airy, it's really taken off, and you see apartments, condos, and things of that nature that are popping up. And before the community can respond, the permit is already in, and building is underway. So to let our citizens know, particularly for hardworking families, how is that impacting the community who, limited space, playgrounds, trash, recreation centers, schools, what effect is that having on them? And I would
Hmm.
be there in Harrisburg to make sure and keep an eye out for the existing families and the new families. Some of the new families, they can't help that these opportunities came before them, but to actually kind of safeguard and measure the growth in that. Same thing with these rural data centers that are popping up, that are creating a lot of unnecessary waste, and at the same time they're passing off the utility bills to working class families. I would watch guard those as well.
Mhm. And what about renters? Because everybody's not going to buy a house. We realize that everybody's not going to buy a home. What would you do to help renters with the high price of what it costs to rent? Years ago, we always knew of New York City, the brownstones, and the rent that people were paying for a very, very, very small apartment in Brooklyn and in
Right.
Queens. And then when we come to South Philly and different parts of the city, rent is very high. And
Right.
some people say, well, if you're paying 15, $1,600 for a more for rent, you can get a mortgage, but that's not always the case. So we have people that
Mhm.
are renting. Would you put some type of cap on for people that are renting, and the landlords are charging them astronomical prices for the
Because they
rental
can get away
units?
with it. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What
Well,
what
in
would
New
you
York,
do for that?
I think in New York that rent fixing to protect consumers has been a long time um, situation for New Yorkers. Definitely something that we could look at in Philadelphia. But also, one of the things that impacts renters the most is evictions. And so, um, you know, we would be able to see if we could seal the records on evictions so that um, this would not prohibit uh, people who lost their homes or lost their
Hmm.
apartments due to evictions, then that would be one measure. Also, if the renter was evicted for to no fault of their own, then that eviction notice should be wiped off of their record altogether. So those are some of the measures for homeowners and renters that I would like to legislate.
Okay, I like that. I like that. We have the Workforce Development Center, and for those that are listening, as I said, um, we're doing this live show, and it's not, this is not a scripted show. I know this brother. I've known him for well over 25 years. We've worked together in radio. We've worked together in the community. And I felt like we can have a very intimate conversation and talk about things that are on my mind and talk about the things that are on other people's mind. Going back to the days of the Universal Workforce Development Center, that was a prime thing in South Philadelphia that gave an opportunity for men and women that may have been on public assistance or just
Mhm.
coming home from incarceration. I think the Universal companies and Mr. Gamble, I think they were ahead of their time when they were doing the things, because you see some of these similar programs that are here today. Once you get to Harrisburg, would you lobby for more money to be put aside for programs for young men and women, and especially our young teens, to be able to get a decent job and get not just a job, but training, whereas though they can have a career? We're not talking about like a McDonald's job or working at Walmart or Target. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with those jobs. I think, by all means, you take care of yourself the best way you can. But to be able to give young people an opportunity where they can get a skill and they can be able to work towards having a career so they can be able to take care of their families better. Would you see yourself working with the unions to be able to put monies aside for uh, ventures like this?
Oh, definitely. In my previous life, I was a member of TW Local 34 as a railroad conductor. So, labor and industry, labor and unions, is definitely something that is near and dear to me, to the working men of women, working men and women of the unions, you know, they deserve all the kudos that they can get. They're the backbone of industry. Um, but I think, you know, when it comes to training folk, um, you know, college is a plus, but education is a must.
Mm,
So whenever we endeavor to do something, we should be engaged in perpetual education in our craft, becoming master plumbers, licensed electricians, or whatever your endeavor is. You should always, and so whatever I can do in Harrisburg um, to even increase. So now I think um, the minimum wage has been raised, will be raised to $11. Then there's an increment of $13, and then an increment of $15
hmm.
by 2029. That's still not a living wage. You hit a living wage, they say at around $23 an hour. So when I get to Harrisburg, you know, I'll definitely fight to raise that minimum wage. And it's a shame that you got to wait until 2029 or whatever to get to it,
Right.
to raise that minimum wage to 20 and $23 an hour. Uh, Support the unions. You know, our brother Ryan Boyer, who's a good friend of ours, you know, hires a lot of hardworking people in the community, and this is how we support our families, you know, through labor and through unions. You know, not everybody's going to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody's
Right.
going to be a
Right.
multimillionaire, but you can make a decent living wage and support your family, pay for your children's education, put a roof over their head, and a means by which they can enjoy vacations and family time.
Mm, mm. What programs would you like to see for our youth? You know, we have, and you and I see it every year. We have a big draw of young brothers and sisters who come out to the mosque during Ramadan, and
Mhm.
then they disappear. You know, what would you do for a lot of the troubled youth? You know, back in the day, in my time, in your time, we had PAL. We had the PAL
Right.
organizations. We don't see enough of the PAL organizations today, but many of our youth are roaming the streets. I don't care what religion they prescribe to, because I'm more than sure within the Christian community, you have the same thing. You know, most of my time, I spend a lot of time in Southwest and West Philadelphia, you know, doing my job. Um, I see a lot of the young youth that are out and about and have nothing to do. Would you be that person that would fight more for them to be able to get summer jobs?
Well, I think the mayor has proposed um, a $6.97 billion budget called One Philly, One
Right.
Future. And a lot of that is going to go into recreational center redevelopment, redesign, reconstruction. And that will provide safe spaces for our youth to gather, but also job opportunities, you know, for our youth as well. And so, cessating crime or reducing crime is part of it. The mix is to create opportunities for youth to be in safe places, and at the same time, also maybe make, you know, a decent wage during the summer. One of the things that my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, one of the projects that we're endeavoring to, and I think I've discussed this with you before, we want to create the Omega Psi Phi Police and Fire Preparatory Academy.
And the
Uh,
sheriffs, probably. Don't forget about the
and
sheriffs.
and the sheriffs. Well, it's extended to the state. Well, we had a workshop, and the sheriff, you know, we had a job fair, and
Okay.
the sheriff department
Okay.
came, Philadelphia police department came, the fire department came, and the state troopers came. And
Yeah.
so we had about 75 young black and brown folk. That was our targeted audience, to get into these academies of law enforcement and first responders. And it was amazing because of the 75, I don't think anybody qualified. And the reason
Mm,
that they did, and you know this best, is that in the city of Philadelphia and the fire department, if you have uh, delinquent um, utility bills, if you
Yes,
have
and parking tickets. Yeah.
right, parking tickets, moving violations, um, anything of that nature that the city is owed, then you can't be eligible. And so we got 75 people struck right away. So what we're going to do in the preparatory academy is that we're going to prepare these young folks. We're going to bring in credit repair companies, resume writing professionals who will instruct them how to get their credit repaired. Because if you got bad credit, that's another strike. Um, how to tie a tie, how to wear a suit, how to present yourself to an interviewer
Mm, mm,
for this, and the proper way to answer certain questions. And so that we can assure that our young folk can get into law enforcement. What better way than to have people who look like you patrolling your communities? And not anything against it, but Philadelphia had to relax the residency rule so that they could get um, qualified people to come here from out of state, places like Iowa, Kentucky, and Dakota, and people who really have no urban experience at all to get into these academies to fulfill the needs for an atrophying police department where there's retirement and people are disillusioned with policing nowadays. With all of this stuff around possibly or people
mm,
wanting to defund the police and I'm not a proponent of that. Uh,
mm, mm,
don't don't get it wrong. I think that there's some work to be done in policing, but defunding police is not the answer to the police problems that a lot of cities face. So for us to get Philadelphia residents, people who are lifelong residents like you, who's now a deputy sheriff, and who's a sheriff, and Sister Rochelle Bilal, who come from the community, who knows what the community needs, that can best represent the community and provide safety and protection for our community.
mm, mm. I want to go to Facebook Live because we have some questions and I want to try to get to them before we end tonight. This is coming from Craig Palmer. What is your perspective on mental health and what is your plan to address it if in fact you see a need to?
That's an excellent question, and um,
Hey, yeah, I
Jihad,
know.
we 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 at United Muslim Masjid, we got a lot of the staff and the officials mental health first aid trained, and we ran mental health first aid training at the masjid. And so what I think that mental health, given the circumstances and the situations of the mental health crises in America and throughout the world, it is very important. So I see mental health and mental health first aid training as being very critical um, part of my administration, um, because we learn so much from mental health first aid, and some of the you have people that are overburdened, black men who are overburdened, who are over incarcerated, you know, and when you look at how Boppy police in the UK react to a mental health crises. They none of them have guns. They all have these clear plastic riot shields. And when some guys, in the middle of the street, buck naked, carrying a knife and acting and having a mental health crisis, they just all surround him and close in on him. And then they just disarm him, you know. And so there's got to be some compassion, when it comes to dealing with mental health. We had a young lady who had a breakdown in the mosque during Jumu'ah. And so
Yes.
what we learned in mental health first aid training is that there's a certain division of police who are trained, Philadelphia police, or who have taken the mental health first aid training. And you can call and say, look, mom or granddad or dad is having a mental health crisis. We need a mental health uh, trained officer to come here, because they don't come with their guns drawn and their tasers out and they just automatically attack someone. So Mental health will be a big part of my administration. I think it's something that's overlooked and neglected. When they deregulated the mental health hospitals back in the 70s, in the 80s, everybody remembers, well, older folks remember the Byberry Hospital. They
Hmm.
weren't the best places, but at least they weren't homeless people. So,
Yes.
to answer our brother question, we will definitely be legislating and having a division for mental health in the 200th legislative district. And I will, so even though I represent just the 200th legislative district, I'm still will be a state legislator.
Okay.
So will have an impact across the state from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh.
Hmm. Hmm. We have Abdul Kawi who says, what is he planning on doing different than his previous constituents? Because
Hmm.
I mean, I kind of feel and understand what he's saying because, you know, everybody wants somebody's vote. And,
Right.
people will say anything because they want the vote. They want to get your vote. And we know you. I know you to be a family man. I know you to be a good person, but the reality is like, what are you going to do different, man? What makes the people who live in your area say, you know what, I'm going to hit number 14? That's your number, correct? Number 14.
That's my ballot number 14.
Okay. Like, what makes you different? What makes
Well,
Qasim Rashad different?
let me begin with saying that in the 200th legislative district, the uh, the state rep's office has kind of ping ponged. When Sherelle Parker was the rep, the office was up on Wadsworth. I think when Leanna Washington was the state senator, the office was up on Wadsworth. When the incumbent, Chris Rabb, got elected, he relocated the office to Germantown and Allen Lane, closer to Chestnut Hill. And there's not a silver bullet, but some folks felt that they were being neglected and that other parts of the city were being catered to. Um, if it's within my budget and my ability, I would like to open two offices, one in the western part of the district and the other in the eastern part of the district. Now, you're only going to have one staff, but
Okay.
I think you can have that staff alternate days to one side so constituent services can be delivered in that part of the district, and then on other days they can go to the other office. The other thing is that um, the incumbent, is a member of the Working Party's family, the Working Families Party, and he's been a champion for social democrats, and that's a good thing. I agree with a lot of the things that they advocate for working people and working families, but sometimes he got shut down
Mm,
uh, because of that and was not able to move legislation forward because of opposition to his positions. And like I said, what I'm going to do different is work across the aisle. And if you look at who's in, I think Jordan Harris, the 198th in South Philly, good friend
yeah.
of ours,
Yes.
um, he's managed to work across the aisle and get things done and not get so entrenched in principle and value as much as his ability to get things done for his constituents. And now Jordan is the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. Probably in any bicameral legislature, that is the most uh, important, one of the most important chairs that you can have. Now in Pennsylvania, there are 67 counties. It's a bicameral house. So you have 203 legislators, 50 state senators, and right now we don't control the state senate, but we do have a slim margin in the House of Representatives, and we have a Democratic governor. So you have to be a kind that can work with uh, the far right, the far left, and you have to be a progressive.
Mm,
You know, and so I consider myself a progressive who can work with that. But also, I think at the Qawi, you can't sell your constituents out. You can't make deals that are going to hurt your constituents that benefit you personally, and you're just giving away the farm to get certain things that you think are you're in need of. So you have to, represent um, the community. You can't represent yourself. They're not sending you there for your personal needs. In our religion, in our faith, there's a saying that said, "There's a kind of man who lived an irreligious life, a life of no faith, and the day before he died, he became a man of faith. And there's a
mm,
kind of man who lived his entire life full of faith, and the day before he died, he gave up faith." I've been on this planet too long to get to the finish line and then to just give up on faith and become a corrupt, immoral, uh, you know, a dude that'll take a bribe or something like that. That's just not in my makeup. So I would do things differently in that regard. That I want to reach across the aisle. I want to have town hall meetings, and I wouldn't be the first to have town hall meetings. Let's not get that twisted. But I'm in the community, and I'm out here campaigning every day, and I'm listening to folk, you know. And so I will continue to have those town hall meetings and continue to listen to folk. I see certain politicians who get to Harrisburg and they just coast. I don't want to leave a legacy of coasting behind. I had a fundraising event at Harass Coffee. I want to give a shout out to Harass Coffee and Hamza Sheikh at Harass Coffee for hosting that for me. They got three locations: one at 48, one in University City, the other one's in Fishtown, and a new location in Flowertown. Excellent coffee, excellent venue, a place to be. So I want to be the kind of person and the kind of rep that represents the community, small businesses,
mm.
community people, you know. And I'm not going to, a lot of people say, sometimes I get it's abrasive. Oh, when you get to Harrisburg, don't change. But the thing is, you guys always change, you
Mm.
know. And I'm here to say, I'm Qasim Rashad. I'm running for the 200th legislative district of the state of Pennsylvania, and I am truly a different kind of Democrat.
Now, uh would you use your power to be able to would you use your position to increase a better working relationship between the Muslim leadership here in Philadelphia?
I don't know what that question means.
Somebody posed it on Facebook. I was
Oh,
just reading it
okay.
off.
Yeah, well, well, first, I'm running for a secular position. I'm not
Right.
running to be anyone's imam. I know Mayor Mamdani took a lot of darts and things like that. How can he support this group and that effort and so on and so forth? I'm not running to be the grand mufti or the grand imam of my district. I will represent um, Muslims, non-Muslims, atheists, Jews, the whole nine yard of the
Yeah. Yeah.
constituency. But to uh, obviously, I know the Majlis Ashura, and that is the organization of Masajid in the Delaware Valley. I've met with them. They've endorsed me, and I appreciate their endorsement. I know that they're working together. I don't think that there's that much divergence with them.
Right.
I've sat at the
Right.
table with
Right.
them and
Right.
I've
Right.
watched them.
Right.
So I don't know what I could do any more than to um, make myself available to them and maybe make things available for them.
Hmm.
I know Jordan Harris gave a substantial amount of money for the Eid in the park when we were at the Please Touch Museum to help facilitate the Eid for the Muslim community. And so, as a Muslim, I would be open to those communities. But as
Right.
an elected legislator, I'm going to be open to all houses of
Yeah.
faith.
I kind of think like a question like that is like kind of unfair because we all know you. We know that you're Muslim and you know I mean, what would a person want you to do? I know that you would possibly, I know very much you would fight for our second Eid to be able to be recognized in the city of Philadelphia, so city workers can be able to get off because we can't get off. You
Right.
know, we don't get off for Eid. I know that
Hmm.
that's something that you would go to Harrisburg and work with others, Christians alike, to make that happen for us. I mean, that much I do know about you, to be-
Right.
but I don't think you can bring the religious leadership. That I think that's kind of unfair because then you would say to the other person, well, what are you going to do about the Christians and to help bring them together?
That's
You
correct.
know, you're not Qasim Rashad, the state representative for the Muslim community. You just happen to be of the Islamic faith. You know what I'm saying? So if you can push for Eid and halal food in schools and halal meals in our jails upstate road, then I think the religious leadership, in my opinion, and I don't want to take this conversation somewhere else, but I think they got to work together amongst themselves to try to do what they can do. Now, if you can put together a setting for them to come together, yeah, then that's something doable. I could
Hmm.
see, but when I think about other religions, it makes me think about your wonderful, beautiful relationship that you have with uh Pastor Waller from Enon Church. And uh when people get off get off this live, I want you to go to his page and I want you to check out this very dynamic, beautiful, informative interview that you and Pastor Waller had together. Very, very beautiful. And I was hoping tonight we could play some of the clips of it, but we're not able to due to time. But your relationship with um other faiths. I've watched you throughout the years. We've had many dignitaries from uh different religious denominations come to South Philly and you work with them. Your relationship with Pastor Waller, his church is right there in your area. I want to talk about your relationship with him. You guys seem to have a personal relationship and his congregation. Have you been there to speak to his congregation?
No, I haven't. I haven't been to Enon to speak to his congregation. I was there a couple weeks ago, where they hosted the congressional debates. Myself and Pastor Waller, our relationship goes back to the campaign of Tariq El Shabazz when he ran for district attorney. He was a big supporter of Brother Tariq. And so we found ourselves in a lot of common spaces during the course of that campaign. Um, and it's kind of odd. We both, I think, one day I was driving through City Hall and he cut me off. And then the other day I was driving around City Hall and I cut him off. And both times we wound up in uh, the parking lot under straw bridges looking at each other. Oh, that's you. That's you. So, um, he's a very inspirational leader. He's an ecumenical leader, and he has tremendous respect for the faith and the Muslims. He actually spoke at when Masjid Allah had their grand opening at the new location. He spoke there as well, and a lot of his constituents attended. Some felt it was controversial, but
Mhm.
you know, he's of the mindset that we have a common enemy in Satan and in racists, and that as black folk of faith, we all have to work together to defeat that common enemy. And he doesn't care if you're a Muslim, if you're about Black family, Black empowerment, and Black uplift for our
Mm,
people. And that doesn't mean that that's to the exclusion of white folk or white Christians.
right,
Uh,
right, right.
but faith and charity uh, begin at home.
Mm, mm. As we begin to wind down this interview tonight, what are the lasting words that you want people to remember about you, Qasim Rashad, as a family man, as a religious leader in the community, and as someone that wants to go to Harrisburg and represent his district?
Hmm. Well, like I said, I've raised 6 children in the district in Mount Airy, and they all went to school in Chestnut Hill at John Story Drinks. I'm currently helping to raise 6 grandchildren to do the
Mm,
same thing, and nieces and nephews. All of us live up here in the district in Mount Airy. So I'm not new to the district. I just didn't move here and say, oh, let me see what I can do, figure out for the district. I know what our neighbors' needs are. I know what our family needs are. And I know that I can represent this district better than any other candidate in the race. If I felt someone was more qualified or better, I would be backing them. But I know that I am the best and the most qualified candidate in this race. Like I said, I'm elected to the 22nd Ward as a committee person, and I'm elected to the 4th Senatorial District as a committee person for the state. Been doing this work in the community ever since I can remember. I'm also doing a project called Cities for Better Health with Nordo, sponsored by Norvo Nordis, which is a diabetes program for us, and it's combined with Houses of Faith. Um, Enon Tabernacle is one of the participants, one of the cohorts. United Muslim Masjid has been a cohort, will continue to be a cohort, and we're reversing people's diabetes. My particular program is called Reverse the Curse. And so we've
mm,
managed to do that for several Muslims, and we're going to continue to do that work in the community. And that's just, I could probably think on some of the many other things I've done in this community that have meant something to me that I volunteered to do, you know, because I'm passionate about community life. I'm passionate about helping folk. We do uh, brunch on the breeze still every Saturday at Point Breeze, where we're feeding people who are in need. We supported that program from the masjid, and it just goes on and on. The community work. And like I said, when I get to Harrisburg, I'm going to be able to bring resources and actualize even more in a more crystal clear manner the things that I've done for this district and extend it through Harrisburg. So on May 19th, push ballot number 14 for Qasim Rashad if you're in the 200 legislative district. If you're not, you can go to www.rashadforstaterep.com and
hmm.
you can make a donation or you can enroll to be a supporter.
Before I let you go, something came to my mind. Childcare is very important, and so many people are child care providers. So many people are in need of good child care. When you get to Harrisburg, you would have to get some type of bill going. Not a politician, so I don't know the exact terminology, but there's money that's needed for, struggling families to be able to pay for childcare. And you have very good childcare providers that are in need of the funding so they can get paid. Like one
Mhm.
hand washes the other. That's something else that I would like to see you, you know, God willing, you get to Harrisburg, push for that too, because a lot of our childcare facilities are going out of business. uh Staff members aren't able to get paid because they can't get the funding, and young people, not just young people, families in general can't send their kids to the daycares because they don't have the money. I mean, Imagine paying out of pocket eight, $900 for your child to be able to go to one of these daycares, and you still got a mortgage to pay, you still got rent, you still got car note, the price of gas today. I drove by
Hmm.
uh $4, and I think it was 405. I think it's cheaper in Delaware, but it was
Mhm.
405 for something. you know People are
Yeah,
struggling, man, and people are having really, really, really hard times. And if you're going to be that beacon of life to be able to help people in some type of way, I don't live in your area, but I can't vote for you. But like you said, we can go to your website and make a very conscious donation to be able to help you, so you can get to Harrisburg and you can help people who really need your help. We're in some hard times, brother. And I mean,
yeah, we
this.
are
Abdul
experiencing some very
Kawi and others really got the food on the breeze, the brunch on the breeze started a number of years ago, and it's transformed. Whereas though we're not doing hot food right now, but I see the lines every Saturday. And shout out to Sister Adele, who's taken on that project along with Brother Deeb and the other brothers and sisters. And I see people of all faiths, colors, lining up on Saturday morning at 1251 Point Breeze Avenue to get some lettuce, some tomatoes, some fish, some chicken, some milk, some cereal. And I'm like, damn, this ain't no religious thing here, brother.
no,
This
it's
is
not.
people that are really struggling, that are in need of something. So,
Yeah,
you're in need, brother. And I've seen what
mm,
you've done throughout the years as the Amir of the United Muslim Masjid. And we have sat together and across the tables, and we have argued and we have disagreed. But I think at the end of the day, we've all had the desire to want to be able to help our people. When I say our people, I'm not just speaking about the Islamic community, I'm speaking about the community at large.
right. Yeah, we're definitely living in some very hard, and I don't see it getting better with this $1 billion a day war for no reason at all. There's a joke going around that a man got robbed at Wawa, and the police showed up and said, "Who
Yeah,
did it?"
yeah.
He was like, "Pump number 4." You know, so, I think it's $6 a gallon in some places in California. You know,
That's for regular gas, $6.
just
Imagine what
$6.
diesel costs,
Right.
man.
Exactly. You
You
know.
know,
So I mean, I don't know as a state legislator what role we could have, but we can definitely support, you know, um, the next congressional candidate who wins that third seat. Our brother Sharif Street is running hard, and he's in a real battle. He's got his work cut out for him. But whoever gets in there, um, we can support them because the resources that Dwight Evans brought back to the third congressional district, he was a powerhouse. He was a
mm,
legacy, and that's we want to work in that mode and follow those great leaders, like Dwight Evans and Dave Richardson from up here, and Shaka Fatah and folks like that who led the way for us as a community and showed us how to be, great leaders.
mm,
And that's all I,
mm,
that's what I want my legacy to be. I want people to look back. Somebody sent me a picture where I was at the Haraz coffee shop, and my granddaughter, who's 2 years old, little B, is looking up at my picture and she said, "That's my pop pop."
mm,
Yeah. And who knows what the future holds for little B and all of the black little girls, boys and girls, who are now looking at us as we plant seeds for trees that the shade will never protect us, but will be for them.
mm. And you got to get funding for education here in PA, man. It's just
Oh yeah, that's
It's
that's a so like I said, we got 67 counties.
right.
How many how many school districts do you think are in that 67 county? There, there are over 500 school districts in Pennsylvania.
Wow. I
And
didn't
we
know that.
have what is called the Basic Education Fund. The Basic Education Fund is primarily financed through property tax. That's how school districts are financed. Philadelphia being the most densely real estate populated area of all the counties, pays their fair share. It all goes in there, and then the Basic Education Fund is spread throughout those 67 counties. Not like we get the Lions portion, everyone gets a part. So this is why in Montgomery County, a teacher can make $120,000, but a teacher in Philadelphia only makes about $65,000, and you're getting about $21,000 per student. And so now we have to collapse schools in the Northwest. They're collapsing North Parkway Northwest, Building 21, into Martin Luther King, just to save on um, uh, the expenses of running those three schools separately. Then you got to collapse the bands, the football teams, the basketball teams, the programs, you know. And so when I get to Harrisburg, there's something called the Fair Funding Formula and the Fair Funding Commission that addresses that. And over the years that they've formed it, it's getting more and more so that Philadelphia schools can get their fair share of the funding. So the the mayor just proposed a $50.9 billion budget for the state. $19 billion of that budget goes to the Department of Education, and of that state Department of Education, $2 billion comes to Philadelphia schools. Mayor Parker just proposed a $6.96 billion budget. Of that, um, $2 billion goes to public schools. Public
Mm.
school district just proposed a budget of $6 billion itself. So there's a $2 billion deficit, and so now, we got to be like Howie Roseman and be copologists and figure out where you're going to get to bridge that gap, And for the people who are, Howie Roseman is the Eagles general manager who does miracles with a budget and gets all these rock star, superstar players. But most of it goes to safety and security and to the pension fund.
Mm.
Now, the pension fund, you know, that's like a hedge fund. We can maybe regulate that a little better oversight. But if we can reduce the the crime in our schools and the need, and we can focus on that, we can definitely shave some pennies for our kids, and when we get to Harrisburg, we can push for a larger increment in the fair funding formula for our kids. And so, education, having 7 kids educated in Philadelphia School District, very important to me. Um, Being a member of PTAs and um, Mount Airy Bantams football and basketball and well, we didn't have a basketball team. We've got Mount Airy Bantams baseball and football and Mount Airy track. But these kids all go to schools in Mount Airy.
Mm.
So if we can create better educational opportunities uh, for our students and save money, then we can also increase the auxiliary programs for our students, and we want to pay our teachers more. Um, Obviously, that 65 thousand dollars a year is not really an adequate salary for all that they do coming out of college with huge loans and debt, and then they have to buy their own. The school district doesn't even pay for their own supplies anymore, so they have to buy their own supplies. It's just wrought with so many things. you know I was an intern with Senator Vincent Hughes when he was um, fighting for asbestos removal in schools. Our schools, I went to Emlyn Elementary School, which is in the 200th district. We've got a big sign outside Emlyn Elementary School celebrating 100 years of that building being open as a center of education for elementary school kids in that neighborhood. And then you look at Lower Marion, Upper Marion, Montgomery County, and they all got new schools. Matter of fact, when they plan a school, they plan when they're going to take it down and build a new school. So we need new schools uh, in Philadelphia. And so, whether we get it from private sources, we've got a lot of people in the entertainment industry who are from Philadelphia, who claim Philly, you know, and as a legislator, I would attempt to call on those people. Don Staley is telling that UConn coach, look, I'm from 215, 267, North Philly, you know, we don't play. You got Kevin Hart, Will Smith, the 76ers. Let's call on some of these folks in private industry, but they want to see solid programs. And I would
Right.
be willing to put solid programs before them and say, look, if we can raise $20 million every so often, we can put that towards building a new building, building a new school, putting into our schools infrastructure. And Kevin Hart has been very, generous. He's donated computers and the like to Philadelphia schools. He's from that, from the neighborhood where the schools were recipients. So let's see what we can do.
Give out your website one more time before you go. People are asking for it.
RashadForStateRep.com. You can Google it. RashadForStateRep.com. And you can make a donation to the campaign because we're fighting a good fight and we're running the real race. We plan to be the next legislative district from the 200th district. With your support, we can get there. We can do this.
So that's Rashad.com, right?
Rashad for State Rep.com.
Okay, RashadForStateRep.com.
Right.
Everybody
Rashad
heard
for
that?
State Rep.
RashadForStateRep.com. And they can give any amount they want to give, right?
Yes,
$2,
any
$3,
amount. We're not
$5,
right.
$10.
Hey, look, Obama won an election getting $10 from grandmas from all over the country and all over the
Mm.
world. I'm sure some of them grandmoms in Kenya, where his father was from, was donating.
Mm.
So it matters not how straight the gate, no charge with punishment to scroll. I will take $1. I will take your prayers. Most importantly, your prayers. And so if you can only give me $1 and send me 100 prayers, I'm gonna take that. You know.
Well, I thank you so much, my brother, for being with us tonight. It was a joy interviewing you, and this is you got to come back, man. Once you, inshallah, win and become state rep in your area, we got to have you back, and we want to talk more about the health. The health is so important, man, and
Yes.
reversing the diabetes, man.
Reverse the
That
curse.
that's that that's that. Oh man, and y- I wish you nothing but the best, brother. And like I said, I love you, man, for the pleasure of our faith. And I know you as a family man. And I was thinking, man, my son Akil used to come up to your house and stay,
Right.
and he's 20.
What are they, 24?
No, Akil's. I think he's 26 because I think Amin is 28. I don't know, man.
Right.
I got 8
Yeah,
kids. You got
okay. So
6.
Akil was born in October and Hakeem was born in November.
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
so remember them jokers had those huge heads?
Phew. God, man.
I wish I still had pictures of them put together. Those heads was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. We got a lot of work to do, man. And I
Yes.
pray that you're able to accomplish this because we need good people. We need good people of faith and good consciousness that can be in these political seats, man, that care about the little people, man. And people need help, man. People need
Yes,
help.
they do. You know,
Inshallah.
and that's my life passion. I get no bigger thrill or charge than helping people. That's, another reason why, I want to run. I've been helping people all my life, and I haven't, you know, tried to become a wealthy man or a rich man. Having family, having friends, and having that lifelong passion for helping people is why I want to go to Harrisburg.
And your frat brother is on here too.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Muslim Kev is on here.
Oh,
He's on our
Muslim
live.
Ted.
And you there's a young brother uh who works in the sheriff's office, and he knows Kashif and he knows you. And he was like,
Yes.
man, when I see Casa, man, I got to give him respect. And I'm not a frat brother. And I said, what is he to you? He said, that's my big brother. So he has a lot of respect for you. A lot of people respect you in the community, man. And we're praying that you do well on May the, what's the date?
19th,
Press what button?
14. I'm on ballot 14.
Ballot 14. Want everybody to remember that. You have a good night, brother. And I'm going to end this. I'm going to play that video. I was able to get your theme together. I was able to cut up
Okay.
some pictures and some video, and I'm going to play that. We thank everybody for
Okay.
tuning in to our show this evening. And as our brother said, if you live in his area, vote for him. Vote for brother Qasim Rashad. Make a donation to his campaign. Help him out. If you don't live in his area, as he said, go to his website. Make a donation that will help him so he can be able to go out and knock on doors and shake the hands of people and be able to let them know who he is and what he's trying to do in that particular area. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you. I really
All right.
appreciate this.
Appreciate you. Inshallah, you have a good night, and I'll talk to you really soon.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wait, sit down. I'm going to play that video too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This ain't politics as usual. It's purpose. Qasim Rashad. Qasim Rashad. Uh. I said, I don't bend for power, I don't move for clout. No strings on me, I don't dance for doubt. From the block where the system overlooked, now Qasim Rashad stand where they said he couldn't. Walk with the people, carrying truth. For the mothers and the struggling youth, he don't speak pretty, he speak what's real. This for every voice they tried to conceal. Unboss, unboss, he stand alone. Qasim Rashad, yeah, he built from stone. Not owned by money, not shaped by fear. He speak for the people, he make it clear. Unboss, unboss, he won't fold. His voice not for sale, his spirit bold. This not a title, this what he brought. Qasim Rashad, unboss, they play it safe, he apply that pressure. This not a game, this a new agenda. No backroom deals, no hidden hands. Qasim Rashad take a stand for the land. From pain to power, we organize. Turn truth into action, we mobilize. When he rise, he don't rise alone. It's 1,000 voices in his tone. No permission, he claimed
Developed
his
my own
right.
company.
They
So I,
fear the
I,
truth,
I learned
they
a
fear
lot of
this
business
fight.
skills from the Business
Different
Enterprise
path,
Center.
different
But
code.
what about
He
people
don't
who
follow,
don't
he build
have the ability or the capacity or
He
the
stand
cause
alone.
to get
Qasim
there?
I want to
Rashad,
thank
yeah, he
Hamza
built from
Chef
stone.
and the staff of the Last Call for
Not
Flower
shaped
Town
by fear.
for a
He speak
beautiful,
for the
beautiful
people, he
venue
make
for my campaign and for my
He
support.
won't fold. His voice not for sale, his spirit bold. This not a title, this what he brought. Qasim Rashad, unboss, unboss. Qasim Rashad, say it loud. For the people, for the crowd. Qasim Rashad, unboss, unboss. Qasim Rashad, Qasim Rashad. Unboss.
Yo.
Yo, I think on that alone, you need to have your own. I think you need to win just on that alone, bro. You
Send
got
me
your
that
whole
video,
thing,
man.
man.
You
You
kind of
got
shocked
your
me with that one.
and listen. You was wondering what was taking me so long. I was sitting up there, man, trying to put that joint together. I was like, oh, he sent me a theme song, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta do something. Hey, that's funky, man. I like that.
Okay.
I like that, man.
Appreciate it. I really
Oh,
do.
that was dope, man. That was dope. One of your
Okay.
frat brothers cut that for you?
It was a friend in New York that did it for me.
Yeah, probably one of them cues. Yeah, cues, man. Have a good night, brother.
All right, I appreciate you. Good night.
Good night.